Hello and welcome. This is the Afro Atheist. Welcome to my space. I am an atheist, a proud atheist for that matter, and I'm also of African origins. Let me ask you, how many African women have you come across who identify as atheists? How many? I'm curious to know. I bet there are not many that you have met, and that's the reason why I hold this space that I do. Since coming away from religion, I realized that, look, I need to be a face for my kind of people because there is not many of us out here who are talking about deconstructing faith, who are taking religion apart, who are doing the work of deconstructing ideologies and belief systems. And so, if you are not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up as many times as you possibly can. And you know what will help a lot is if you share the videos so we can get to a wider range of people. Thank you very much. So, why am I no longer a Christian? I was born into a Christian family. Mom and dad went to church. That was the thing to do. I didn't know any different, didn't know any different kind of system. Do you know that I grew up believing that everyone had a God belief inside of them, but just that some people have got the wrong God. I thought that having a God belief was intrinsic. I thought it came naturally. So all my life went to church with parents, gave my life to Christ, did the usual things we would do as Christians. Introduced to the concept of heaven and hell as a youngster. I will tell you that I was terrified of going to hell as a youngster. I was terrified because the church we went to, we were made to give up our televisions. We were made to give up the things that mattered to us because the goal of the pastor for every member of the church was to make it into heaven. His focus was on holiness. That was his main focus, on holiness. And so we were denied just the pleasures and luxuries and the things that would make your life a comfortable place here. You were told to deny yourself of all those things. For example, women could not wear deodorant and perfumes because you don't want to smell so nice that you lure men or make them lust after you. You also were denied clothing, items of clothing. Women could not wear trousers because those were men's clothing and it's prohibited by the Bible. Women could not, lots of things women could not do. You couldn't even take up a position as one of the leaders in the church. You had to follow all these rules. There were so many of them because we were on the road to being holy. So carried on this way, I grew up and still believed in God. Honestly, I thought that everyone knew there was a God. So imagine how I felt when I came across people who didn't believe in a God. I didn't know it was a thing, that there were actually people who did not subscribe to the God belief, who have never been religious, have never been introduced to the God concept. I started asking the questions, who are atheists? Right? Who are these people? Where did they come from? Well, what started my deconstruction journey? One of the things, because I really cannot pinpoint one particular event, but my son was 9 years old when he came to me and said, Mom, it was in the morning, we're getting ready for school. And just so you know, my son is autistic. So things are black and white with him. He doesn't understand metaphors. He doesn't do quite well with nuance. It's black or white with him. He came to me at the age of 9 and said, Mom, I don't want to be a Christian anymore. And I was still a Christian. In fact, I was making my way to becoming a priest in the Church of England in the United Kingdom. I'd finished 2 years of studies. I was at the stage where you go to panel to be picked for theology school. My path was set. I was set on becoming a priest in the Church of England. And so, here I am, leadership position in church. And my son comes to me and says, Mom, I don't want to be a Christian anymore. Can you imagine how that it came from out of the blues? And so asked my son, why don't you want to be a Christian anymore? He says, well, he learned about Jesus's death and events that happened during Jesus's death and how it was just too much blood everywhere. And his mom, you know I don't like blood. I said, yes, I know that. He said, I don't want to be a part of it. I am paraphrasing. And I didn't know what to say. So in that moment, I said to him, look, son, you know you like Christmas? He said, yes. I said, you realize that Christmas is because of Christ, right? He said, yes. I said, without Christ, you know that there is no Christmas? He said, yes. And without Christmas, there are no Christmas presents? He said, yes. I said, so if there is no Christmas, you will have to give up your Christmas presents. And I knew that he liked Christmas a lot because of the presents. It's such a festive period for him. He loves Christmas. The look on his face when I said that to him broke my heart. Because my son came to me telling me he didn't like how barbaric the nature of Jesus' death was. And instead of validating him, here I was trying to invalidate my own son and trying to trick him. The look on his face thinking, so I'm going to be denied Christmas presents and Christmas because I don't identify with this thing. So anyways, I left, we finished the conversation and I went back and I was asking the question, did Jesus really need to die such a barbaric death? Was it really necessary? Because now, how do I explain to my 9-year-old autistic child that, look, you have to be a Christian, and so you have to accept that Jesus died for you? How do I explain to him that even though you've not done anything worth dying for, someone still chose to die for you because two people ate the fruits in the garden? And so everyone is condemned for that reason. How do I start to explain that? So I thought, you know what? I need to figure this out before I start breaking this down to my child. I need to know whether this is valid. I started asking, why do I even believe what I believe? Why? Why do I believe what I believe? Is there sufficient evidence to hold on to this belief in Jesus Christ, in Yahweh, in Christianity? Guys, the more questions I asked, I got no answers. The answers I was getting were not sufficient enough. I started to just lose it. It became a real issue. When I asked the question, did Jesus really need to die such a barbaric death? Well, it turns out he didn't need to die such a barbaric death. He was God. He was God and he could easily forgive humanity. No one needed to die. Jesus was already forgiving people before his death on the cross. Jesus was forgiving people before his death on the cross. So, example of Jesus forgiving sins is Matthew chapter 9, verse 1 to 8, and also Mark chapter 2, verse 1 to 12. Jesus got on a boat, he crossed the sea and came to his own city. Some people brought him a paralyzed man on a stretcher, and when Jesus saw their faith, he said to the man, "Cheer up, friend, your sins are forgiven you." Mark chapter 2, 1 to 12. This was about the paralyzed man that was being carried by his friends. The 4 men came to him carrying a paralyzed man, and since they could not bring him to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof over the place where Jesus was. Then they lowered the cot on which the paralyzed man was laying. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the man, "Friend, your sins are forgiven." Jesus was forgiving sins before his death on the cross. There was no need for Jesus to die. Because how then do we explain to children that you are so worthless, you're so evil that Jesus had to come and die for you. There is something wrong with that idea. The second reason why I am not a Christian, all my life I grew up thinking that Jesus was Caucasian. Those were the images that were shown to us. We had pictures of white Jesus and black Satan in a fight with each other, and white Jesus, he wins the battle against black. These were the images we grew up on. There are videos still circulating on YouTube. The missionaries who brought Christianity over to Africa came with the pictures of the Caucasian Jesus and told the people, get rid of your deities, get rid of your practices, and take on this guy in this picture. He will save you. He is the only answer. So how was I to know that Jesus could never have been of that color, of that race, of that ethnicity? And why did they lie to us in that manner? Well, it turns out they say, oh, we don't really know what Jesus looked like. If we didn't know what Jesus looked like, then why did people lie to us in Africa that Jesus looks like that? The average African has an image of Jesus either on a calendar, on a crucifix, something. Even in the churches, you will see images of Jesus in the front by the altar. Average African thinks that Jesus is white. Why lie to us in this manner? Why do this? Because next thing, what happened is we start to feel inferior to the Caucasian because that's where Jesus is from. So imagine how I felt when I was told the first time that Jesus wasn't white. It shocked me. So you know what? I decided, okay, I'll go and see the Reverend Father of the church that I was a member of. I'm going to have this conversation with him because I was confused. If anybody would know, he would know. Reverend Father Richard is a white man. So I was thinking, okay, at least he definitely would point me in the right direction. He would tell me whether Jesus was white or not. So we went. I had to sit down with him. Okay, Reverend Father, I've been told that Jesus is not white. Is this true? Reverend Father Richard looks me in the face and says, Jesus was not white. It is true that in fact, Jesus might have been black with Rastafarian hair. That's with dreadlocks. Imagine my shock hearing this from the white man. I'm asking him, so you're saying that Jesus was in fact black? Since he thinks that Jesus was black. He said the church lied to the world and the church really should apologize for that lie. How is it that you know that the church lied to the world? And all over our church, we have the stained glass windows of the image of Jesus, all white. Mary is white. The angels are white. Everything is white, all scattered all over the church. And yet you know that this is a lie? Well, he said, okay, we really don't know exactly what he looked like, right? It's the color of his skin. We really don't know. So he said to me, as that people tend to think of Jesus in whatever image they can conjure up, right? For some people, if you're black, they think of Jesus as black. If you're white, you think of him as black. You think of Jesus just however you can picture him. That's fine. He said, for us Christians, it's not so much about his race and ethnicity. It is about his message. It's about what Jesus came to do. That should be the focus for Christians. So he said to me, go back and think on what Jesus came to do. So I went back and really was asking the question, what did Jesus come to do? Well, it turns out that Jesus came to be a sacrifice to his Father. Jesus came to save us from what him and his daddy are going to do to us. Jesus and his daddy and the ghost have prepared a place of eternal torture and damnation for us. And so everyone's on their way to that place. But the only way to stop people from going there is for Jesus to come down from the heavens. He had to leave heaven for 33 years and come down to earth to be a sacrifice, to create a loophole for us undeserving sinners to go into heaven. I'm sorry, it didn't make sense anymore. It completely fell apart for me. There are other reasons why I am not a Christian, but for this video, these are just the 2 reasons. And the day I figured out that Christianity was false, something was birthed inside me. I have to speak. I have to say something. I have to let people know that this is not true. So that is why I identify as the Afro Atheist. And that's why I am a proud atheist. Don't believe in any God or gods, and don't need any God or gods. I'm perfectly fine without God. So guys, thank you for listening to me. If you like this kind of content, please make sure you subscribe, share this video, and let's engage. Let's continue to tell people. Or better still, if people will choose to be religious, which is fine, you can be religious, but at least know that there are things that do not add up in your religion. At least know that and know peace. All right, guys, I will catch you in the next video.